How about now? Maybe? How about now? I hope, because I'm all out of ideas. If I'd not heard. Yes? We can hears? Yes? Good? We good? Awesome! So, okay. Awesome. So, I'm gonna wait a little bit in order to, before I start teaching you, let people, come in and what have you. But basically, this was the finished rope that y'all helped me choose colors for, and I'm going to basically show you some variations on this, namely, a section where you can use 2 whole beads, and a section where you can just stick a big chonking bead in between the two. Hello! So, that's what we're going to go over today, and in the meantime, while I'm waiting for people, I'm going to make the demo of what we're going to use. So I did this one, and then I had ideas, and I made this one as a bracelet, which is kind of cool. Hello! And, yeah, I kind of like how that turned out. I'm not sure how I feel about these, especially because they move so much, but I also overestimated my pattern and made it a lot bigger, and this skull ended up being off-center instead of center, the way I wanted it. So. Awesome! But, yep. I like it. It's cute. So, that's what I did. I'm going to make a little demo with 8-Os, and we're gonna practice with some Super Duos and some 6mm fire polish. That's what these are. And if that turns out to be a lot quicker than I think, I'm gonna work on some balls. Because I have been obsessed with these, despite the fact that I hate peyote so much. This isn't my design. This is from a YouTube channel, Alushka. I can leave links, so if you wanted to make some balls of your own. So. And how is the music volume compared to my voice? Because, yeah, I don't want it to be too loud compared to my voice, so you can actually hear my deadass. So, I will start off making a few rounds. I've got into these beadsmith needles because, one, they were cheaper and they came with more, and I'm liking them so far. Fantastic. Okay. These beadsmiths aren't too bad. They're still, they're a little bendy so they don't break too much. I haven't had one break on me yet, which is miraculous. So, and I'm going to have quite a large bead haul up in soon because I have impulse control problems. So, ouch. Alright. So, what has everyone been up to? Any new projects or new techniques we've been playing with? Hang on. I did a small recap on the cubic right angle weave in last weeks? 2 weeks? I think I skipped a week because yeah, I'm going out of my goddamn mind. So. Ooh. All right. And I'm trying with this music. Supposedly, this is a royalty-free, and YouTube won't flag me. This playlist that I'm on was tested, so we'll see. Yeah, because I figured it would be good to fill some dead air. Because there are times when I just don't talk, and, you know. But I personally haven't done too much. I've been doing a little more shopping than I should. But I am getting back into resin, which I am very excited about. And I am... yeah. So, I ordered a lot of things from AliExpress, so I have to wait like 10 billion years for it to come in. But when it all comes in, I'll probably do another haul video on that as well. So, be on the lookout for that shenanigans. And I might do some live streams on it too, because the way that the new designs that I want to look forward to is, basically instead of making a huge batch, I want to take real, I guess, tender care on one specific piece at a time and make cool little dioramas or just some nice scenes and see how they turn out. So we got a good number of people here, so I'm going to get a couple more rows done and then we shall start. There we go. But yeah, anybody getting into any trouble lately? Either in the beating world or other cool shiny things entering your life? Ow. getting some structures and outlines done. I don't think I cut enough thread for this. Oh well. Okay. I think this will be good at this row so that y'all can see what I'm doing. Forgot how much thread this stitch uses. Alright, so I got my base of cubic right angle weave. Let me zoom in a little. Throw down some 2-hole beads. Now, this technique can be used with a variety of 2-hole beads. I've done it with 2-hole diamonds, done it with crescents is kind of fun to do. Let's see, a lot of the smaller profiles that don't have a lot of width to it. So something like gem duos and diamond duos, you probably wouldn't want to do because they're so wide, and I don't think that would look great unless you added like filler beads in between, which is possible. But, and if you want, I can try with diamond duos to see what happens. But, so, in an initial regular cubic right angle weave, you're always building 4 walls of 4 beads, like that. And basically, with a 2-hole bead, you have 2 base holes. So we have, let me try to figure it out. Well, I know, I'm trying to talk and figure out how to translate at the same time. That's kind of the issue with the live ones. But, so, you have your wall beads, which are still going to be seed beads, but your top and bottom base beads are going to be the super duo. And all we're basically going to do is jump over to change which base bead is which. So, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So, our first stitch on a new row of right angle weave, cubic right angle weave, is always 3. So, I'm going to add a side bead, a top bead, which in this case is going to be our super duo, and another side bead. I will stitch that around, and then reinforce, because this is a pain in the ass to work with if you don't reinforce the stitch. And I undone my thread. Alright. Reinforce, so we are prepared. Then pass to our next bead on our base row. Now we take a look, we have 2 beads here already, our bottom base and a side wall. What we're going to need next is a wall and a top bead. So, I add my wall bead and my top bead, which is a super duo. I'm going to wrap around back, pick up the wall bead and then the base bead from the previous row, and then reinforce that. So now we have 2 of our 4 walls built on this next stitch. Pass to the next base bead once more, and once again a wall, and our bottom bead is here. We need a wall and a top bead. So seed bead, top bead, pass it back around, then reinforce. Okay. 3 of 4 walls have been built. I'm going to pass through my base bead, and we have 2 of our walls already built. So I'm going to pass up to the next wall, and we only need a top bead left. So in this case, 1 super duo, go down at the opposite wall and reinforce, and that will be 4 out of 4 stitches. I'm going to actually end my thread because I have run out. So if you want to end threads and add threads, just FYI, you just pass down through some beads, add half hitch knots in between everything, weave it around, and have lots of fun. So, does that make sense to everybody so far? Feel free to ask me questions and interrupt in the chat, because I won't know if you understand unless you tell me. I'm going to get rid of this tail too because I hate it. If I can find the end to my thread. There it is. Adding on a thread is pretty much the same. We're just going to pass through a bead, leave a teeny tail, do our half hitch knots. Oh no, I see one of my super duos is plugged. Maybe I could fix it. Please let me fix it. I don't want to do it again. Please hold. Oh, oh. I have a reamer somewhere. A chunk. Oop, got it. Awesome. Okay. Back to our regular scheduled programming. So, when we end up with a new thread, we're going to end up, or rather when we've completed our stitch, we end up at the bottom of our super duos. So, it's really simple to move up to our next stitch. All we're going to do is pass through the top hole. And now, what's going to happen is we're going to act like our top holes are our base beads instead of the bottom holes. So, our first wall is always 3. So I'm going to transition on by using 3 seed beads, passing back through to wrap that around, reinforce, then we pass through our next base bead, which is the top hole of the next adjacent superduo. We have 2 of our 4 beads set up, the top hole and a wall. So I'm going to put on 2 beads, which is going to be a wall and our next top bead. Pass back through the wall and the top hole of the superduo. Then reinforce. So we've got 2 stitches done. Pass on to our next anchor bead, which is the top hole of our next superduo. Add on another 2 seed beads. Pass down through the wall and the anchor bead. Then reinforce. Okay. Now we are at our last stitch, so we're going to go through our last anchor bead. Then, since we have 3 of our 4 beads on this wall, we're going to go up the second wall, add on 1 bead, and complete by going down the wall, through the anchor bead, and reinforce. Upwards like that. Don't get your shit caught in everything. Then reinforce your top section so that everything lines up nice and neat. And there you go. From there, you've got 4 beads that you can use to build your next stitches from. So, 3 beads, loop them around, and so forth. So, did that make sense to everyone? Do we want me to demonstrate this again? Do we want ice cream? Anything? I could go for a Choco Taco right about now. A winning lotto ticket. You know, same. Alright. So, are we good with this technique? Should I move on, or should I do another round? Keep in mind that this will be uploaded on the channel, so you can rewatch it. You can just skip through the timestamps. I think it's about like 10-15 minutes before I started this, so let me know. And if so, I will prepare for the next cool technique that I wanted to show you. Boop. Alright, so I guess I will move on unless there's any questions, comments, anything about this. Going once, going twice. Okay, moving on. So I wanted to show you how to basically add a section with larger beads, but in this case this isn't much larger than this stitch, but I used a segment here to kind of close off or just add a nice little texture difference in the cubic right angle weave. So this is what I'm going to teach you. So we are starting anew in our base point. We're going to be working with these 4 beads on top. I'm going to add my little transition bead as well as 1 other seed bead. So I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to skip over the seed bead. I'm going to skip that, pass back through my fancy bead. Ouch. And then I'm going to pay attention to what bead I'm coming out of. I'm going to pass through the opposite side of that same bead. You can reinforce if you'd like, because I'd do it now and maybe the next stitch, but no further, because it gets a bit tricky to get underneath that bead. So I'm just going to reinforce once over here. Go back down the accent bead, then through the bead we started from on the opposite side. Then I'm going to pick up the next anchor bead, pass up through the accent bead. Hello! I'm going to then add a new seed bead, pass it down through the accent bead, then I'm going to find the bead that I started from and pass through the opposite side. You can try to reinforce if you'd like, but at this point I don't want to bother. Just make sure you use a real strong thread. The next anchor point we're going to pick up the accent bead, add on 1 more seed bead, go back down, pass through the bead that you started from on the opposite side. And I bet you can guess what we're going to do next. So, picking up the final anchor bead, go up through the accent bead, just the accent bead, although at this point it might get kind of difficult because there's not a lot of space. So, pick up our last seed bead, go down the accent bead, And then among this mess, try to figure out which bead you ended up with, and pass back through it on the opposite side. Like I said, you can try to reinforce if you want. Good luck. So, we'll just move on to transition to our next stitches up forward. So I just pass through the accent bead. Then I'm going to act like this is my new anchor, and I'm going to pass through all 4 of these beads to get them into the right orientation and make sure we know who's boss. So, from there we have our new anchor points, and we can start anew. So, 3 beads, pass it through, reinforce. Pick up our new beads. I don't have any more of these. So. See. Alright, so those were the 2 basic techniques that I wanted to show you. Wanted to do something nice and easy for the first live stream tutorial bits. So, once more, does anybody have any questions about these 2 tips and techniques? Anything you want me to go over again? Anything you want me to repeat? Let me know. Where did I go? I am not where I'm supposed to be. Alright, there we have it. From there we build on. So, anyone have any questions on this technique? Any newcomers in want me to see me do something again? Anything? Awesome. And if you do make it, I would definitely love to see you do it and see what you come up with, because this is fun, and you can do so many combinations with things, once again, because I've done that. And then these spaces are just really simple here. They're just like using the right angle weave, but replacing the side walls. Instead of using seed beads, you use larger beads, and you kind of graduate on the top. Transition to smaller sizes. Absolutely, because I've kind of done that there. I started off with a size 11. You can even just do a size 15 afterwards, etc. I've done delicas, then a super duo, then size 8s. I think that's a 4mm rondelle, and then I did something fancy with a 4mm fire polish and some spacer beads, some O beads, because I have a lot of O beads and I don't have anything to use them on because I don't like them as much. Is that what you meant? Yep. That's exactly what I did here. If we want to do a little experiment, we can see... Let's see. I'm gonna pull this out. Let's see. Had a lot of fun with this one. Basically, I did the same technique with the Super Duo for these flat diamonds, and then I added dragon scales on both sides, and that got a little complicated. So that was fun. Yes. And you could do all sorts of beads, all sorts of accent beads. It doesn't have to be fire polish. For example, I put this giant fucking skull in there because I'm me. So. Let's have some fun trying it out. Just because I'm curious, I want to do an alternating pattern of size 11s and size 15s just to see what that looks like. And I'm going to put my Super Duos away because I don't want to make another mess. Skull is definitely one of my favorites, and I have a lot of them for reasons. Piece of thread. Knotting the thread. Oh god, my allergies. I have to blow my nose again. Okay. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So put that mess over there, this mess over here. So, let's try some 15s with some 11s. Oop. Let's see what kind of variations we can come up with too. Actually, I'm going to put that here in case people have questions on it. So. getting attached to everything in my workspace because that's productive. If you do this kind of variegated pattern, I recommend starting with 11s instead of 15s, because starting with 15s is a nightmare. This is my Hercules. This is like a dupe for Fireline. This is what I use because it's so much cheaper than Fireline. I got this 1,000-meter strand for the same price as like the I think it's 200-meter Fireline. It's $15 to $20, but for like the really detailed things that I need to like not have a lot of thread passes or have too many thread passes through, I use 1G because that is the most behaving one of the nylons that I've tested. Though, honestly enough, this stuff goes through 15s a lot, like no other. I've had so much luck with this stuff. Like, I've gotten through 3-4 passes on a size 15, so I have a lot of fun with that. But where am I on this thing? I think I'm on the wrong thingy. Yeah, 1G I think behaves a lot better than things like Sono or KO. Definitely Nymo. I've had issues with Sono. Like the waxing just wears off and then eventually it shreds, or I found that I'm passing through it too many times. Bead embroidery, yeah, I could see that. Okay, let's see what kind of color variations we can do with that. Obviously, well, it depends on what you start with, I would imagine. But the first thing that I can think of is, let's see. Very true. So the first thing I can think of when working with two beads or two sizes is the wall change, which is like what I've done here on these pieces, is where I change the wall to make it look skinnier or something like that. So to start that, I would do my 15, 11, 15. Bloop. Well, that's kind of cute that way. It's not. It's a lot tighter of a stitch. Build an anchor and a 15. Maybe not that 15. see. Oh, that's kind of cute like that. It's a much tighter stitch with the 15 wall, but I kind of like that. The next one that I can think of is like a chevron pattern where you basically alternate stitches 15, 11, 15. So I will make a wall of that. Obviously the first stitch is going to have all 4 beads before you do the chevron, but that's just how it goes. Unless you want to do the math and figure out what, like replace the first bead. You basically do the first anchor beads in one color, then you do the stitch on top in another color, and then continue the pattern that way. But I'm gonna do it this way for now because just because. Wee. Okay, so I've got my base there. The next stitch I'm gonna make is all 15s, and seeing how that goes. Size 15 cubic is so cute and adorable, but it is such a pain to start. Oh my god. Yeah. It kinda squeezes too hard. But if you gradate sizes, it should be an okay look. Okay. So that's with one chevron, and then I'll repeat with size 11s. Yeah, that one is fun to do, especially because it takes up a lot more space than regular seed beads. So you end up doing less stitches, which is always fun. So do it. Just do basic stitches and just chill out and do stuff that you know very well and just kind of mellow. That's why I've been doing these things, because it's not my pattern, and I wanted to do something that looked cool and was under somebody else's direction, because I didn't want to think too much. So, hell yeah, do it. I know, right? That's from Alushka on YouTube. And despite my hatred for peyote stitch, I managed to do them, and they're really not hard to throw together. Yeah, we got some quiet people, but that's okay. Lurking is totally cool. So that's that pattern. You would basically make chevrons up and down. I'm going to do one more set to make it look so you can see the pattern a lot better. And one more blue. Ooh, that sounds like fun. Like, peyote is just my Achilles heel. I just bleh. So I admire people who can work on it. Definitely good to do, especially now. I have unfortunately been impulse shopping, which I ended up with quite a bit of business things. The biggest thing I purchased was a 10x10 canopy for outdoor shows whenever they come back. Which is something that I really needed. I bought a postal scale and a foldable wagon again for shows whenever they decide to release everybody. But I bought a lot of beads, I bought a lot of resin materials, which I'm excited to get back into, but the majority of it is from China, so I have to wait 10 billion years for my packages to come in. So, alright. So now you can kind of see that pattern, the way it just kind of makes a little chevron on top. So, the next one that I can think of is making it kind of isolating so that one color takes all 4 spaces and the other color is just a backup. Oh yeah, I've been doing it a lot. I have problems. And I did buy, like, shiny things for me. Like, I bought a rather expensive pair of earrings. But I've wanted those earrings since, like, I first opened my Etsy shop, so it's been a while, and I think it was well timed. I plan on doing some resin streams too. I might do like an updated tutorial and things like that. I've got a couple of tutorials on my channel, but they're rather outdated. There's just a brand of resin that I used to use and I don't particularly like anymore. A lot of it was with epoxy resin, it yellows, so I found a brand that supposedly is very yellow resistant, and they've done tests. Basically, they stuck a bunch of brands under UV light for pretty much a week under constant, and it still held strong. So I'm buying that. That's art resin for those who are interested. And then I'm using the Chinese version of UV resin as opposed to the Solaris that I used to use, just because that stuff was so finicky. And yeah, so I am done with that. But hopefully I've done a lot of things to kind of help my workflow and make it not so much a mess and a pain in the ass to work with. Things like a UV lamp that I can move and position on top of my desktop instead of like the self-contained one where you have to stick things in it. I can just work on my piece and I don't have to risk tipping it or spilling it or anything, and then just put it right on top. It's like a little bridge thing. So I'm looking forward to that. Some measuring cups, silicone measuring cups, so I don't have to use Dixie cups and waste a bunch of paper. A little teeny tiny spoon to measure out mica, because I've had a problem mixing way too much mica in my things, and I get like little clumps everywhere, so I've got something, I got a little teeny tiny measuring spoon for that. I've picked up some UV dyes because I've had problems with transparency. If it's too opaque, it's not, the UV light isn't going to go through. I've also got some nail plates, some more nail plates coming in, as well as a bunch of stamping polish, because I use nail polish for my resin designs, and I'm kind of hoping to make like dioramas instead of batch making pieces. So, alright, next color variation. I'm going to do one wall color, one anchor color, one wall color for my first stitch. This pattern is probably going to take 3 stitches to do. So I've got that. Pass through. Another wall color, another anchor color. Wall and anchor. My last anchor bead. then I'm going to do all of the next color so that this has the pattern of 4. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of, I'm just trying to figure out what I do after that to make the pattern a little more seamless. And I'm way off frame. Then the next stitch would be all of the color A's. And I'm running out of thread. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to finish this stitch, so I'm going to end it here. Sure, that's good enough. That's true too. Yep, let me see if I can continue this pattern, making it look nice instead of just making it nice and like symmetrical. Glad to be of assistance. Okay, then I think the next stitch is going to be basically the start of that stitch again, I think. Maybe, hopefully. I'm doing science! So, it would be 1, 1, 1. One of these, one of these. Okay. One more. The next stitch. All 3. My eyes are crossing from all these tiny beads. Last stitch would be all of those beads. Fighting with the damn thing. Okay. Alright, so that's what we've got for color variations. That's as far as I can think so far, so I don't know if there's probably any other cool variations to do. Probably. So we've got our simplest one, which is just to replace the wall beads. That's what I did here. All over here. Replacing all the wall beads with just different sizes of beads. You can move on and make chevrons just by alternating the colors and the sizes that you do. Then you move on and you can make one entire flower. Skip the making a flower in the next transition and just keep them going. So basically for this one, it's for the first stitch is 1, 1, 1, which is wall, anchor, wall. The next stitch is all the second color. The third stitch would be all the first color, and then we move on with wall, anchor, wall. If that makes sense. Do you want me to go over any details on that or go a little bit slower? Because I was just messing around trying to figure out color schemes for that. I can do that one again if you'd like. But other than that, that is what I've got for some cubic right angle weave variations. We've got color changes, we went over 2 whole beads, and we went over making a nice little transition bead in between stitches. For our new people that have shown up, do we have any questions? Do you want me to go over anything again? Let me know. So, I'm going to start cleaning up my messes while we wait. I'm a very thirsty potato. I'm a tired potato too. Alright. So, with thine silence, I can only assume that we get it. This is also going to be posted on my channel so you can rewatch it. And, oh crap. You can rewatch it, slow it down, kind of take a look at what I've done, or how I've explained it. You can also leave me comments in the description after it's been posted. Leave suggestions as to what you want me to teach next. If you want me to go over some stitches, I think I might just keep doing live stream tutorials because it gives you a chance to ask me questions. Even though there isn't too much I can do being, online. I can go repeat and go over things. I can't necessarily help you in situations where, like, if you're working alongside me and you get stuck at a point, without me seeing it, I can't really help you there. So there's only a limit as to what I can do. But it gives you the chance to ask some questions, clarify, give ideas as to what can be done, and so forth. On that note, if I'm going to continue live streaming, be sure you are subscribed and have that notification bell. Ooh, wrapping a cabochon could be cool. Doing that live. Either stitched or wire work, that would be cool. Pardon me. Yes, so be sure you are subscribed and ring the notification bell because that'll tell you when I'm live, because I don't have a set schedule yet. The closest thing I do is if I don't post a video on Tuesday, I'm probably going to be live Thursday, but don't count on that because, like, last week I wasn't anywhere to be found. Yeah, so do all that business. If you want more tutorial videos, I've got a Patreon. And I think a lot of you are in our Facebook group already, our Creations from Lessons with Odin. If you do anything from my tutorials, share pictures on the group, because that would be cool, and we could all bounce off of inspiration from that, and it would be totally rad. So, on that note, I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to take off and probably have a snack and work on the third ball that I'm doing, which I can show you colors of that. I am halfway through my third one, which is this goldeny ball with majestic blue and the crystal iridescent pearl. I think that's going to be very pretty. So, in any case, y'all know what to do. I will see you next time. Take care, stay busy, and yeah, until next time. If you have any questions or comments that you think of after the stream, feel free to leave it in the comments and I will get to it. Laters!